Looks like they're just getting going here. See the happy birthday on Vital, and yeah, we are off. So pretty standard here. Hopping along can save a little bit of time. Really, this is just about not getting caught up too much in the intro here. Especially at this end part with the old lady. I want to try and be on the ground as soon as possible so that you can skip the cutscene just a little bit sooner. But yeah, basically just hopping along and going through and trying to not fall in the pit. Have seen runners miss that jump. You do it so many times, it's really easy to get complacent. So you have Vital at 43. And Sefi also at 43 in-game time. The game goes by in-game time. It helps to make sure that things are synonymous between the runners. It just goes by the level. And yeah, the first level here, very fun, great music, and teaches you a lot of fundamentals regarding the game. You see Vital there doing a wall bounce, and Sefi too. And again, they might look a little bit off, but we go by the in-game time ultimately. So you can see that they're actually about 4 seconds off here. So don't worry too much. And in a game like this, things change very quickly. Yeah, so you'll see various movements throughout their actions here. Obviously you have a dash, and you need to touch the ground in order to reactivate your dash. So a lot of the movement tech has to do with manipulating that type of system, and unfortunately Vital taking a little death there. Very minor though, very minor. Some screens are larger, and especially if you get to the end, they can be all the more costly. But something like that is very inconsequential. Sefi taking a small death here too. It is loser's bracket, so there are, I'm sure, a lot of nerves on the table here. And in a game like this, it is imperative that you be very much warmed up. Yeah, both making it through here very nicely. So yeah, chapter 2 and even chapter 1 and even chapter 2 are fairly short. Each chapter kind of has its own gimmick to introduce. So the first chapter is really good at introducing momentum with the shifting blocks. This one you'll see we have the dream blocks here. In the dream block, it kind of treats it as though Madeline is constantly dashing, but you can actually do movement techniques coming out of the dream blocks as well. You see Sefi go for a trick here, and Vital get it too. Trying to make sure that they activate the cutscene so that they're in the block and they can already dash up very quickly. And so yeah, the big name of the game here is just precise movement. Every little thing can kill you, and dust you up like that. This is a very tricky skip here. And I believe we saw one of our first instances of a ultra dash. It's basically like trying to do a hyper in the air, which is where you hold down diagonal and hit dash. The way it augments your movement just makes Madeline go very quickly. And in vents, if you hear my doggy in the background, I apologize. All of a sudden he decided to come bug me. But here we have some syncage on the screen. This is fantastic. Yeah, big trick with these turns. Madeline will follow your actions about 3 seconds behind you. So if you're quick, there is no fear of her ever hitting you, but that one little section right there, you kind of overlap her. So it's very tense, especially as a new player. It can be very difficult to try and maneuver around her. And these last few screens were very large, so in terms of time loss, that's the most likely place to get time loss, and it's also the most punishing place to get time loss. But of course, both runners make it through the dream section here. They're just kind of jumping their way along. These screens are kind of deceptively difficult. There's nothing really in the way, But because it's so simple, it means that optimizing them is fairly important. Can just lose a lot of little simple time. But yeah, both runners done here now. So moving on to Chapter 3, Resort. The gimmick here has to do with the affectionately called dust bunnies. These black and red outline type things. They are not fun to touch. Madeline is very much about having her clothes not be dusty at all. They get dusty, she has nothing doing with that screen, and you have to start over. But yeah, the gimmick here is that a lot of these things work on cycles. When you enter a screen, it's really important to know what the next screen will be, so that you know how to function and move throughout the next screen. But if you happen to die, the way enemies and the cycles move will be a little bit different. In some chapters and screens, it's largely inconsequential, but in this chapter, that's very much the name of the game here. And yeah, unfortunately, Michael taking a little death there, but very much knew how to get through in spite of that. A mark of a strong player is knowing your backups. It's one thing to know a strategy to get through the room, and it's one thing to get through the room quickly. But should something go wrong, you need to make sure that you can compensate appropriately. And yeah, also within this stage, you will see these locks here. They'll be featured within the other chapters as well. It should be of note, if you are not familiar with the game, there is no RNG within the game. Everything is determinative. So if you move the exact same way in a room, you should get the exact same result. Definitely, I'm not sure if we're able to get the game music up, but this is one of my favorite parts of the stage, just the tune that's just pick up. Resort is a very long stage and a very difficult and punishing one, but I personally think it's one of the most satisfying stages to do well. It's a little bit tense, but between the music, a lot of the tricks and everything, it's just incredibly satisfying. It also features some routing too. So obviously routing in speedruns is important, but the way we go through this area, you have to unlock these 3 kind of book things in order to clean up a lot of these objects all throughout. Most people are probably familiar with the casual story, so they understand why, but the route that the runners do take through is actually the preferred route in order to get through as quickly as possible. And so yeah, Vital taking out second bit there, so we only have these purple things. I don't know, are they towels? Bathrobes? They are something. But yeah, as you clear them, it actually changes a lot of the rooms. And ooh. Vital leading here, but having a couple of deaths. Again, not catastrophic, but it'll definitely give Sefi some time to catch up here. Yeah, these rooms that Sefi are in are very satisfying. Fairly simple to do, but they just like feel very good. And wow, I think he got a very tricky jump right there. Oh my goodness, yeah, that's a very difficult room to go through, so that was very good by Sefi. So Vital, having cleared up all the junk for Mr. Oshiro, is making his way through to the end here. Pretty fun room here. Obviously these diamonds, they will restore Malin's dash. So you do not, in that case, need to touch the ground. There are other things that do that too, like touching a springboard. But yeah, Sefi making his way through as well. Oh, that's very good. That room can be really tricky. You can do a wall bounce there to get through, and of course this one as well. Those 2 rooms back to back, very difficult. But yeah, that's really good. Yeah, Sefi going for the wall bounce there, so we'll save it a little bit of time. Again, another tricky room, and unfortunately just gets caught by a decimate at the very end. A lot of again, another part of these runs is because they're very precise. It's very easy to tilt in the game too, to start to panic, to choke, to want to try and force something to happen. When you're practicing or learning the game, it's not a bad thing, but during a run, and especially during a tournament run, it's not necessarily even trying to get a PB, it's trying to win versus your opponent. So a lot of time, even if you can do a strategy, you might want to defer to something that's simpler. Oh yeah, and Vital just getting clipped by Oshiro there. So this room, that cycle will be a little bit different, but takes a little time and gets through. But yeah, a big thing here is that the screens are very large. I think for new runners, this is probably the main part that feels bad or exceptionally stressful or difficult to get through. And especially if you're not really familiar with the backup, things just feel very out of place. But Vital does make it through. I think that was sub 6. This is a pretty good time. And Sefi as well. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch time, but I think it was also a sub 6 minute. So now, a little bit of a mishap there. They're trying to do a technique where you can dash on the cloud, and it'll give you a ton of momentum, but the timing is very fickle. A big gimmick to Golden Ridge is that there is a wind mechanic. Canada, Canadian land, very windy place, especially as you're going up a mountain. And it will augment your movement. A lot of these rooms on their own aren't too tricky, but between the mechanics and everything, they can definitely be very challenging. In the aforementioned chapter of Resort, while it's really obvious to see how it's tricky, this one can be quite deceptive. It's a shorter chapter, but the time loss can add up really quickly. And yeah, here we see a couple of different things as well. Blocks, when you touch them, they will move. And you can stand on them and move in a certain direction. But yeah, wall bounces and a lot of things. Very common here. And yeah, Sefi tried to go for that dash there, and unfortunately it was a bit tricky. Yeah, and again. Oh, and Vital also having a little issue here. These rooms are very difficult. There's a few ways to do them, but Vital going to take it safe, which I think is very smart. Again, it's not that late a runner couldn't do a certain strategy, but if you try and bash your head against the wall too much, you might end up losing more time than it's worth. And even just like something where you're holding onto that block can give you a tiny little breather. This game is very action-packed. Sefi goes for it and does get it there. That's very good. And yeah, there are these bubbles. They kind of function like a dash in a way as well. When you enter them, they leave you with a dash. You can tap dash upon entering one to fire it faster, and in conjunction with everything, just a very cool mechanic. But yeah, a lot of these screens just very large and kind of auto-scrollery, as you can kind of tell. So if something goes wrong, there's just so much time that ends up being eaten. Sefi taking death here, but unfortunately, or fortunately rather, there's a checkpoint right there. Tried to do a bit of a jump skip, but again, could respawn there, so the risk wasn't very large. Vital having a very nice skip with the wind there. It'd be really difficult to go through those rooms, and then the wind was on a cycle, but he made it through and just barely snuck through onto that block there, but that was really good. Yeah, like big rooms like these, there's a lot of wind. The difference between being fast and slow is huge. Some of the chapters might not be as fun to do, but you just don't realize how much time can be saved or gets eaten. Sefi making his way through here. He gets to the very end. A lot of these snowballs can be quite trolly. If you hit them, obviously you can boop them and get your dash back. But if they hit you, you're in for a bad time. But Vital makes it through. Yeah, the time definitely does blow away. Yeah, and so Sefi very close here. Just this big last screen to go, where the wind is actually helping you, but it can be very deceptive. And Vital entering Mirror Temple. When you dash, these blocks move. So that's an gimmick of sorts. The red bubble, they'll infinitely fly in the direction in which you fire them. So a bit stronger. And here we have Vital trying to do a bit of a skip in order to get a key much earlier than you're supposed to. It does a very good job. Does a wave dash. He jumps into the air, dashes at the ground at an angle, and then it basically functions like a hyper dash, but you're able to do it from a shorter platform. And of course, Sefi going along here, having a very nice ult right there. There are many different strategies runners can use, and some of them are just like marginally quicker. Some of them are a lot safer. So there's a lot of expression that comes into the run itself. It can be easy to get through the run, but getting through the run quickly is everything. Oftentimes, slow strategies in order to mitigate death and mistakes are the better ones. Ultimately, it depends what the runners find fun and comfortable. Yeah, very spoopy area. It's kind of where Madeline starts to confront her inner self a little bit more, and you'll kind of see some of the darkness of the human heart that can kind of lay in the depths. And we have this Cthulhu kind of looking creature a little bit. A seeker. You have to kind of take out Madeline. It's symbolic. But now the seekers will be an enemy in these upcoming rooms here. Yeah, and Sefi not too far behind. Starting to make up some good ground here. Yeah, so big thing, of course, knowing what you're doing before you enter a room is pretty impactful. And a lot of these turns of the Seekers revolve around actually manipulating the Seekers themselves. Saw Vital very skillfully there. Move down so that the Seeker themselves activate a switch. Ooh. Yeah, that was good though. You saw how he kind of like booped Seeker, and then it went to the other switch and manipulated again. And Sefi doing the same thing. Just very effective, very efficient. And those Seekers are jerks. If you can boop them on the head for free, go for it. And yeah, this is a very close race so far. Oftentimes runners might have chapters that they're more comfortable with, ones that maybe they're more proficient in. For these two, it's a little bit hard to say. But they've just both been doing very well. And Vital hitting some combo blocks there. If you jump on them, or rather, if you touch them and then kind of jump off, they'll instantly disappear. So you'll kind of see our runners do a little bit of a hop in order to get rid of them just a tiny bit quicker. It's a very good use by Vital. in order to get the Seeker to break the block and then jump off Seeker in order to able to, so she can move and then hit the block again. And here we're sorry, single commentary, getting a little tongue-tied. Since they were with our boy Theo, shooting some hoops, hitting switches, dodging and weaving the Seekers. This is a fairly punishing section. It can go really slow if you're not as comfortable with it. But it's also very satisfying too. Just chucking Theo, hitting the switches. It's a really neat mechanic because it actually retains your momentum upon grabbing Theo there. Vital try and use the momentum of that platform in order to get through the room a little bit quicker, but unfortunately took a little death there. It still has a decent lead, but of course, in a game like this, leads can change very quickly. Very close race. And you're entering the second last room, very tricky one, and gets through very well. Like, even a little mishap like that at the end, it's fairly minor to what the room can do to you. Yeah, just making his way through here. Try and get through the waves, and takes out the eyeball. And Sefi very close, literally a room behind. Yeah, a big thing to the game is keeping your momentum, not getting tilted. If something goes wrong, trying to recover, not focusing on mistakes too much. Very momentum heavy game here. But entering Chapter 6, Reflection, we find a new mechanic here in the feather. Feather is pretty cool. You can see flying through more will refresh the timer. And it basically gives you a temporary free movement in order to fly around. And coming out of that section, we're in this lake area. Looks like Vital did not opt to go for lake skip. It's a very tricky thing. And again, in a tournament setting, even though you can do it, it doesn't necessarily mean you should go for it. Yeah, Sefi too. And of course, not to be forgotten are these Kevin blocks, as they're affectionately referred to. When you dash into them from one of their sides, they will very ferociously carry you in that direction. It's very nice by Vital there. Ooh, tries to sneak under and get a little bit of a time save there in a trick, but very minor time loss for not getting it. So yeah, on stream they're about 2 seconds apart, but only a few rooms apart here. I see some bumpers here. They're pretty cool too. They can be a little funky to get used to, but they'll ricochet you off in whichever direction you hit them, and as well restore dash. If you hold the direction in which they hit you, it can give you increased momentum, especially if you dash into them. But if you don't hit them at the right angle, they can just send you for a bad time, so it's not uncommon to see people take them a little bit slower. There are different routes that can go in this chapter, but typically you'll see most runners go in the same direction. I believe there are 4 different forks, and you'll see runners kind of go up 3 times and then on the last time go down. I don't remember what the time difference is between them, but it's just what you'll typically see. Oh, having a little trouble there. Those bumpers, if they get you, can just send you all over, so it's good that Vital reacted and moved around it accordingly. Of course, here we have Madeline. She's at the very bottom of the mountain, but ready to confront her inner demons of sorts, as is indicated by the purple-ish tendril things that are fading away slowly, leading towards Madeline. So everyone in chat, if you are hyped for the Madeline fight, definitely make sure to send some heos in chat lovingly as you so wish. Sefi there, doing a developer intent skip. There's a very precise spot they can move to, and you can go through and cut some of the sections out. Still really scary, but if you do, it's quite the time save. And here we have Vital at the Madeline fight. Not only known for its fantastic music and level design, but also some of the anxiety it can cause in trying to get through very quickly. It's a fairly punishing section, decently long. Madeline will fire some orbs as well as fire a beam. Those are typical attacks, and sometimes they can be difficult to dodge, especially depending on how you maneuver through. And yeah, Sefi also in the Madeline fight here. Yeah, it's hard to say on anything too specific because there's a lot going on, but a lot of different strategies for getting through the rooms, and so you can have quite the heyday in trying to figure out what type of strategy you would personally like to get through. Yeah, lots of obstacles, lots of spikes, but not unlike Madeline, having to confront Madeline as a speedrunner, you have to confront the dangers of these rooms. Oh, Sefi having a little bit of momentum there, but otherwise they're doing fantastic here. One of the worst feelings is that you'll actually hit Madeline right as you also get hit, and then you have to redo the room, even though you actually did end up hitting her. I did you a favor. You are a mountain climber. But our runners are going to show her, and she will come to believe us too. I'm just trying to help you. Yeah, Val taking it a little bit slower here. It's very smart. And yeah, especially in these big rooms, they can be fairly tense. Hitting that bumper, but does a very good job. In this room, a very long room, and of course the beam goes from very far away. So trying to move through it carefully is difficult, but Vital ended up getting the last hit here, and is now done with the balance section. Sefi also was in the same screen, so literally like a room apart. And Sefi now done too. So we reconciled between the two, between our two characters here, and gained the power of each other to now have 2 dashes. So beside a very cool hair color change, 2 dashes, very handy. And sorry, I had to pause for a second. I love the music. Chapter 7, final chapter of our speedrun here, but the longest chapter. You revisit every area, in effect, very briefly, going through, trying to reclimb the mountain with your newfound powers. In terms of game design, it's a really beautiful expression of everything that you've had to go through, and it kind of reminds you, when you start the game, especially casually, you didn't really know what to do, and now you have 2 dashes and all the old mechanics, and you're just able to kind of fly through. These rooms are exceptionally satisfying to go through, but also very tricky. And again, it's a very long section, so it can be quite challenging. But already we are 500 meters down and into the reflection of the first chapter on Vital's screen here. But yeah, just runners are still incredibly close. Again, it makes sense within their PBs, but a lead change could happen at any time. Oh, Vital taking a death there, giving Sefi a little bit more time. Obviously, slow is not ideal, but steady certainly does win the race. Yeah, and Vital now done with this section. 1,000 meters. Here we have back to our dream blocks. Common technique you'll see them do is try and hyper out of them, because they have 2 dashes. We can afford a dash in order to get into the dream block, but we can also use the hyper in order to accentuate our movement and go exceptionally quick. Sefi now also done, moving on to 1,000 meters. I like this room that Vital's in. It seems like a lot of runners have different ways to go through. It's pretty fun to watch. A lot of time when you watch speedruns, it might feel like some things are pretty homogenous between players, but there's always a way, and especially if you look, to see a lot of different expressions. Sefi now on the last screen. Vital moving on to 1500. Here we have our beloved Dust Bunnies. Sefi moving on to 1500. And yeah, chapter 7, lots of long screens. Ooh. Vital lost the dash there, tried to refresh it, didn't get it, and try to go for a fast room strat here. Just gonna reset it. Again, when you enter, when you're in the room upon a death, the cycles and everything can change. So you will see runners sometimes leave the room and go back in just to kind of recenter themselves, go back to the strategy that they're used to, which may in fact be faster than trying to go through otherwise. Oh, I see Sefi in the same area. Tries to go for the same thing and actually does the exact same thing as well here. Very tricky. There's 3 altars in the room and takes death there. Yeah, that's pretty punishing. Still not too far, but... Vital onto 2000 meter, our revisit of Golden Ridge. Something I love is that throughout all of this chapter, there's a part in the music track that plays, but in each area it changes a little bit as well to kind of reflect the area that you were previously. I think little things like that really make it a magical game, and it's why so many people love running it, as well as playing it casually, of course. I'm gonna see Vital go for a tricky strat there and does pull it off. Yeah, that room very punishing, but very good job. Sefi also in 2000 meters here. Ooh! Yeah, bit of an all-score room, so that's a pretty unfortunate death there for Vital. Still has ground to give. And Sefi gets through. Yeah, very nicely. It's also difficult to watch because you're tracking between the two racers and there's so much going on. A lot of the game will speak for itself, of course, too, but just in a tournament setting here, it's also very interesting to watch, very tense. Vital finishing up 2,000, done with the golden in your first section, up to 2,500. Heading over to the Mirror Temple portion. However, this part isn't nearly as dark or gloomy as, ooh, that's a costly death there. Not nearly as dark or gloomy as the actual chapter itself. Maybe some symbolism there, but yeah, unfortunately takes a death at the very end. Using the momentum of the other room to get through that one, and it's very crucial. This part has a lot of very cool tricks, as well as being a very beautiful area. Yeah, and see Vital trying to do a jump there, trying to wall jump, and there's a step that runners use, and yeah, Sefi, Vital, just like a room apart. You can see how that one death just caught him up exceptionally quick. Both runners are in the same room, almost synced perfectly here. Again, you can see that some runners are more comfortable with certain rooms, or of course nerves, or whichever can affect someone. And Sefi just barely taking a lead here, going for door skip. Vital not going for door skip, might be really feeling the nerves. And yeah, lead change again. It's the very end of the run. This is where it starts to really build up. This is where it matters. And both are through. Very close. 3,000 meters. If you want to count along in chat for the flags, by all means. I will be biting my nails while watching, if it's all the same to you. And yeah, just the final portion of Summit here. There are no more meters, just these presumably meter flags here. Lots of wind and different mechanics. And yeah, Sefi going for a skip here does get it. Yeah, a lot of this just tests your fortitude. There's a lot of actions you need to do very quickly. The wind and rain kind of pouring down on you. You really do feel it in this speedrun. I'm both having a sync death right there. Fortunately, Sefi taking an extra one. Yeah, very end of the run. It's so crucial. Still not that far behind, but again, you have to think of your mentality while you're playing. You're like, oh no, like, assuming you know where your runner or your opponent is, it just can wait on you. You can't let it get to you. Vile going along here. Just gonna go for a small little skip. Again, there are lots of low strategies that can save little bits of time. But whoever gets through, that's what matters most in the end. Sefi does go for something similar right there. Yeah, it's like it's wind, but it seems like it's rain too. I don't know if it's simply a physical expression to denote wind and or happens to be rain, but I'm going to assume mostly wind, but yeah, very close here. Literally anything can cause a huge swing. It's too difficult for me to look at the time currently right now. Yeah. Just between the two of them, little things, both for and against them. It's a very Ooh, yeah, that's not good. Again, still has a lead to give, but it's getting very close. Yeah, just like a screen away. And this is it, folks. At the very top, music fading. Vital has a 37, 35, and Sefi 37, 38. Unless I'm mistaken. Need to look here. 3-second difference. It's incredible. Does mean that Vital will move on. Unfortunately, in Luz's bracket, Sefi is now out of the tournament, but it's still an incredible race to watch. Yeah, I don't know if those are PBs, again, because of SR.com, but if they are, then that's incredible. Oh, wow. Like, even looking at the stats here, 31 deaths to 43 in the 3-second difference. Like that's a huge testament to both their runners here in different ways. But yeah, definitely give them your love. Did a very good job and just flying through those rooms. 40 or 50-second PB. Well, congrats to you, SefiCompacto. Very good job. Or like Sefi PogChampo. So even though it's a little bittersweet, we have wins all around. Everybody winning. I had a great time commentating. We can see if we can get them in here for an interview. I completely went over my head here. It was a great race. If they like to join, they are more than welcome to join. Oh, they both PB'd. That's fantastic. Everyone winning. Races winning the race, winning PBs. I feel like I'm winning. Got to commentate. It's tons of fun. Hope chat feels like it's winning. 3-second difference. I don't think you could ask for too much more. It's beautiful. It's my first time on solo comms here. I hope I did a decent job. Really nice commentary. Thank you guys so much. But real quick, first things first. Did you two want to come in for an interview? Should probably send a message here. But if you're watching the stream, then let me know. Yeah, okay. Sefi is unable to interview. Which is completely fine. I don't know if Vital would like to. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. It's a lot of fun to do. Okay, so Vital will be joining for a short interview here. So stay tuned for that. And yeah. I get to see some section times here. And yeah, very good summit time. Oh, I do have Vital in the waiting room. I'll pull him in right now. Congratulations, Vital, on that race.
Yeah, thank
big
you.
wins all around.
Yeah, that was crazy. Congrats, Sefi, on the giant PB too. That was nuts.
Yeah, that's fantastic. 3-second difference.
I know.
So how you feeling?
Shaky, sweaty, a little bit out of breath.
Kind of like you climbed a mountain or something, hey?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
It might be easier to climb the real one. I don't know.
But yeah, that was the PB for you too, I think, right?
Yeah.
I was doing chat, right?
Yeah, it was about 18 seconds. Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking on Esther.com, but sometimes people don't update or whatever. So
yeah, no,
but,
it had actually been a month since I PB'd. So
well, what
happy.
A time to do it.
Right.
Just so much going into it, but yeah, fantastic race. Unfortunately, your opponent out of the tournament here, but yeah, if there was a time to PB, have a hype race. I think it was Sterling this time, and
yes,
yeah, it was
for sure.
a pleasure to watch.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is something I want to ask too, but kind of slipped my mind. Or okay, I guess on the race itself, was there anything that you particularly enjoyed, or maybe felt that you had an unusual struggle, or you were kind of concerned with? Notice that you went for some safety strategies. I don't know if they're what you normally go for, but did you have a certain type of mentality or game plan going into this one?
Yeah, so for races, I usually play it a lot safer because it matters. I also have some of the most hilarious deaths in the world every time I race. And they usually tilt me off the face of the earth. So if I'm suddenly going really, really slow after a death, it's because I'm sitting there trying not to throw my controller.
Yeah. It's coming down commentary that the game is so momentum based. Like everything feels so good, you're flying through, and then if something goes wrong, it just
yeah, it completely
deharmonize you.
Yeah,
definitely. And the mark of a good player. It's backups, trying to keep it together. Very human thing to try and have a little bit of a struggle, but definitely kept a lot of composure and secured the win here and the PB.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, and I'm happy that Sefi had such a big PB too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the first race PB that I've had, and it's because of that. It's the first one where both of us got a PB. I've had some where I got smoked because the other person got PB. I raced Ruby, and he got like the biggest PB of all time in that race. So I'm happy to get to join that club now, finally, of the race PB squad. So
yeah, absolutely, it's a wonderful feeling. That's a big thing regarding tournaments to me. Just in the community, getting together and playing and improving and kind of bonding and having a lot of fun. And I mentioned it before the race here that kind of both your PBs according to Esther.com and how even a minute difference or whatever is still exceptionally close. It doesn't the race could go anyway, and then literally this race
yeah, right,
3 seconds.
Yeah, a minute in this game is nothing unless you're like TGH, and the minute is a difference between a sub 30 and a non sub 30.
Yeah, a minute is a lot, but a minute race to race,
yeah,
races can go races, runs, they can be a lot of things.
Exactly. Nerves can just make you fall apart completely.
Yeah, or you get to that point where you're like, okay, I've done this thing perfectly 100 times. I think I hit the quota. Trying to have a random error at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Things have gone too good for too long.
Yeah, if anything's going to go wrong, it's going to be during a race. Nothing is safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, during a race is very different than practicing because it's you're not in the same environment or the same stress, and you can be like, oh, I'll just reset the room and try it again, or kind of put out your mind. But yeah, no, absolutely, fantastic job. Is there anything you wanted to say or wish I'd asked you?
Not that I can think of. Sorry.
No, not at all. Hey man, this is your time to shine. Don't worry. But okay then, I guess start wrapping up here. Thank you again to everyone for watching. Thank you, Vital, for running. Thank you, Sefi, for running. It's fantastic. I was really looking forward to commenting this. Had a lot of fun. Of course, thank you to Speed Gaming. Thank you to everyone that put together the tournament and all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Yeah, just some that went into it. Thank you for Firestar for trying to help get things set up here. And for Speed Gaming, I'm not necessarily sure what's coming up next. I think more Celeste a bit later on this channel. And of course, there's other things on the other channel, so be sure to check it out. For my part, I've been Gesellschaft. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye.